רצונה
ידיד נפש ורחמן משוך עבדך רצונה
ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל ישתחווה אל מול חדרה
ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל ישתחווה אל מוגדרך
כי ערב לא ידיד אותך מנופת צוף וכל תער
כי ערב לא ידיד אותך מנופת צוף ורחותם ידיד נפש ורחמן משוך עבדך ארץ זונה ידיד נפש ורחמן משוך עבדך ארץ זונה
הדור נעזי העולם נפשי חולת אהבתה
זיו העולם נפשי חולת אהבתה
أنا إلنا رفعنا لا بحارة لا نوعم אז תתחזק ותתרפא وحيتلح שפחת עולם يحمنا رحمك وخوصنا على بن أحفا כי זה כמה נחשוף לראות בתפארת עוזה أنا إلي محمد ليبي حوشنا وعلى تتعلى
נפשי חולת, נפשי חולת אהבתך. אנא אל נא והייתה לה, והייתה לה שמחת עולם. אז תתחזק ותתרפא, והייתה לה שמחת עולם.
Shabbat Shalom. Good evening, everyone. For safety and courtesy, please silence your cell phones. And with seating limited in the sanctuary, please make room for others in your rows as needed. Thank you. Before the service begins, I'd like to direct your attention to the emergency exits and other safety features. Look for the red or green exit lights over the doors. There are exits on each side of the bima behind the curtains, so behind me. There are also exits at the back and end of the social hall, in the back there. At the side of the sanctuary, when the sliding walls are open, are the exits to the main doors through which you entered and exit doors on either side of the lobby. There is a fire extinguisher and AED near the water fountain in the hall, and another fire extinguisher inside the doors to the sanctuary where you entered. Please look now and find the exit nearest to you. Great. Please, hold up, You may also want to look at the safety card and the seat backs in front of you or the safety cards placed on your chairs. It looks like this and it's laminated. In the unlikely event that we must evacuate, we'll meet at the southwest corner of the parking lot away from the buildings. Thank you for your attention. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to those of you in the sanctuary. Shabbat Shalom to those of you who are at home and joining us online. And for all of you, thanks for being with us and spending a little bit of your Shabbat with us. We're going to begin on page 24 in our Siddur, which is Shalom Aleichem. For those who are at home, at least on Facebook, I pinned a flip book of the Siddur into your chat there, and you can access it there. In the sanctuary, you can actually raise your voices and we can hear each other. It's like this amazing thing that we weren't able to do for a long time, hear each other's voices. We're going to join in Shalom Aleichem.
Ya da 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 Shalom Alechem Malachei Hasharet Malchei 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 Elyon Mimelech Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malchei 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 Elyon Mimelech Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malchei, Malchei, Malchei Elyon Mimelech, Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yadadai, join me Yadadai, Yadadai, Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malchei, Malchei, Malchei Elyon, Mimelech, Mimelech, Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One more time. Yadadai,
Turn back in our books to pages 2 and 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. I invite you to rise if you're here in the sanctuary as we bless our Shabbat lights.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
You may be seated. We turn to pages 20 and 21. Take a breath to help us be present in this space and in this time. We take a moment to reflect on the week that has passed, its challenges and its blessings. Pause for a moment on each day. We'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to verse 5, it's our custom to rise and face the doors that we entered. If you're at home, you can face the doors of your home to welcome the Shabbat presence and the Nishama Yatera, the extra soulfulness that travels with us during Shabbat. We welcome them into our space and into our hearts. L'chadodi.
L'chadodi likrat kalai alalai 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 b'nei Shabbat l'kabelah l'chadodi likrat kalai alalai 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 b'nei Shabbat l'kabelah Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad Yishmeanu El Hamiuchad Adonai Echad Ushmo Echad V'Shem U'Tiferet V'Letchila L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 V'Shabbat V'Kabelah L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 V'Shabbat V'Kabelah Likrat Shabbat L'Chuvan Elcha Hi Mekor HaBracha Merosh V'Kerem Nesucha Sod Ma'aseh B'Mashva Tchilah L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 B'nei Shabbat V'Kabelah L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 B'nei Shabbat V'Kabelah Itoreri Itoreri Kiva Orei Kumi Ori Uri Uri Shira Beri Kevod Adonai Alayich Nigla L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 B'nei Shabbat V'Kabelah L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 B'nei Shabbat V'Kabelah.
Rise if you're able and face the doors from which we entered.
Boi v'shalom Ateret bala Gam v'simcha U'v'tzola Toch emunei Am segula Boi Allah Boi L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 B'nei Shabbat V'Kabelah L'Chadodi Likrat Kalai Alalai 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 B'nei Shabbat V'Kabelah.
Penny, want to come join us up here? You can be seated if you'd like.
We have a book for you.
We're going to continue on page 26.
Yekada, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Balam Divra Chute Viam Lima Hute. Bahai Yehodu Yom Aho. Ukayed B'Kol Yisrael. Bagala, Bagala, Huvizman Kari, Huvimaru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabah Mevara, Ulma Ulmei Almaya, Yedbara, Vishava, Vishprar, Shaman Vinase. V'yishhadal, v'yidhalai, v'yidhala, Shemei Dekuda Shaberi, Hu, Ehei, Lamin Kol V'yarta, Bishir Hata, Tush V'hata V'na Hamada, Dali Ram Be'alma, V'yamaru, Amen.
Please rise if you're able for Baruch Hu, our call to prayer, page 28. Just reading. Just reading.
Which word is this again? This. Baruch. Do I sing it? Do you want me to sing it?
No, just say it. Just read it.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambara. Baruch. Sorry. Baruch Adonai Hambara. Alolam Ved. Sorry.
That's okay. You're okay. Lie, la 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 lie. Lie, la 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 lie. Lie, la 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 lie, 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 la 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 lie, lie. Lie, la 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 lie. Lie, la la lie, 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 la 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 lie, lie. Lie, la 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 lie, lie, lie. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Last three lines in the Hebrew on page 30, El Chai V'Kayam.
El Chai V'Kayam, Taminim L'Chaleinu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo.
Hamariv, Aravi.
Amen. Page 34 and 35, Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You may be seated.
Page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha, uv'kumecha, uv'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam, Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem l'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, emet.
Emet. Page 39. Please join in the indented text on the bottom of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace.
Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Micha Mocha, page 40.
Mi chamocha, va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar v'kodesh, Torah tehilo, osei feleh. Mi chamocha, va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar v'kodesh, Torah tehilo, Osei feleh. Malchutcha ra'u v'anecha, Volkei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'eli anu. Ve'ameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha, va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh, norah tehilot, osei feleh. Norah tehilot, osei feleh. Norah tehilot, osei feleh. Kifad Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad, chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
Amen. Page 42. We ask the Holy One to give us a sense of peace as we lie down and a sense of purpose as we rise up. Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmot tzedkenu uvoenu. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmot tzedkenu uvoenu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Baruch atah Adonai, haporesu kat shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 44, we're thankful for this gift of time, of Shabbat, to renew, to reflect, to connect to each other, to our deepest selves, to God. Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. Amru B'nai Israel et HaShabbat Laso et HaShabbat Lidorotam Berit Olam.
We turn to page 46. As we begin our Amidah, I invite those in the sanctuary to rise. Sing the first few blessings together and then have some time for silent prayer and reflection.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu V'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VaHanora El Elyon, Gamel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imaot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Vezorat Sarah.
Page 50.
Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye Hakol Ata Rav Lehoshia Morid Hata Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Ropech Olim Umatir Asurim Umkayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Micha Mocha Bal Yevurot Umidom Elach Melech Memid Umchayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'emanata lehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol.
Page 52. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo
Ha'el HaKadosh.
Amen.
Please take a few moments for silent prayer, the text of your heart, or the words of the Siddur, the prayer book, through page 62, 63. When you're through, you may be seated.
Shabbat Shalom. Last week I missed the Yom HaAtzmaut Israeli Independence Day tribute, so I'm going to do a belated tribute to that theme of Israel, celebrating its independence. This is the theme from Exodus, the 1960 movie starring Paul Newman and Eva Marie Saint. Some of you may have seen the movie. It's sort of a classic dealing with the formation of the State of Israel. It won an Academy Award for Best Musical Score in 1960. So, composer is Ernest Gold, theme from Exodus.
Shabbat Shalom. So for those of you who were here last week, you'll remember that as I began and I talked about Israel last week, it was for Yom HaAtzmaut. I also said that I had to acknowledge what was going on in the world last week with the leak from the Supreme Court and the very real likelihood that Roe v. Wade will be struck down. And I said, I'm not going to talk about it this week, but I will talk about it. That's what I said last week. So I'm going to talk about it this week, not to to share a little Jewish perspective, Jewish light on the issue. I certainly have my own deeply held feelings and on reproductive rights, and I've posted about them on my own Facebook page. But I think what I can lend here, different from an editorial in the New York Times or in the Wall Street Journal or any place else, is to kind of put this a little bit within a Jewish context. First of all, people often ask on almost any issue, people always say to me, what do Jews think about blank, whatever the issue is? And I always say, well, first, Jews think all sorts of things about all sorts of things, right? For even the question, what do Jews think, is different than what does Judaism say about? And Judaism's multivocal, so even the what does Judaism say about something is sometimes not quite as pinpointed as it might be in another more dogmatic tradition, right? But even where Judaism has something to say about something, that doesn't mean Jews, right, don't have very divergent views on different things. So I'm going to talk about both here for a moment, which is Jews and Judaism in this. So I'll start just with Jews. That Jews actually, more than any other group, according to the Pew Research Forum, right, found that 83% of American Jews say abortion should be legal in all or most cases. And Judaism, however, has a little bit more nuanced perspective. Part of the challenge here is that the categories that we use in American society aren't really Jewish categories, right? We come from this category, we talk about I'm against abortion. People would say they were pro-life, or we think people should have access to abortions. We say pro-choice, right? We have these kind of poles, right? And Judaism is pro-natal in many ways, which means Judaism is you should have children. That's the Jewish perspective, and yet gave a lot of latitude when it came to terminating pregnancies, right? So there was a little bit of a tension between them, but they've lived together pretty well. Judaism certainly takes even the most traditional of Judaism, ultra-Orthodox Jews, take much less stringent approaches than do many pro-life denominations in Christianity, because Jewish law provides explicit exemptions to threats to the mother's life, and a lot of rabbinic support for a host of other serious cases. Matter of fact, many rabbinic authorities say that a woman is actually required to terminate a pregnancy if there's a threat to her life, if it's a choice between her life and that of a yet-to-be-born fetus, baby, whatever language you want to use. The mother's choice takes precedence. It's very clear in the Mishnah. It says up till what point? Up until the point of birth, up until the head emerges, right? Mother's life takes precedence, period. And the rabbis, when I say the rabbis here, I mean Orthodox rabbis' commentaries by and large through time, expand that and talk about mother's life. Well, risk to her life, risk to her health, mental health. They don't use those terms, but if it would be a great strain or cause severe pain and anguish, they add those categories. They don't have mental health as a category in the rabbinic times, but that's how we would think about that. So this idea, let's say for the Catholic Church, that life begins at conception or something like that, that's totally foreign to a Jewish conception, and yet that life is precious, potential life is precious, is a Jewish perspective. It's precious because it's potential human life, right? From the Jewish perspective, the soul enters the body at the time of birth, right? That's that place. So it's not unimportant, but it's not on the equal level as the life of the mother or the life of anybody who's been born. And there's some commentaries in Yevamot, in the Talmud, and other places that says up to 40 days of gestation, the fetus has zero status. It's considered like water, and throughout, it's considered a part of the mother, right? And so, that is an important piece. At the same time, there are punishments in the Bible. One of the places that we get this idea of whether it's equal status of the mother or not, is we have a passage in Torah and Genesis that talks about the two people are fighting, and a woman gets struck. She's sort of off to the side, and she gets struck, and she miscarries, right? It says, and of course it says, basically it says, if the woman were to die, then there's a punishment that would be as if it were somebody who manslaughter, right, did somebody, but there's a penalty, a fee, a tort against the woman, right, if she miscarries, right? It's a different. Your damages are to her. There's not a separate person to whom there is a damage. We should know that as a matter of public policy, many major American Jewish organizations have been vocal in support of broadening or protecting reproductive rights access. And yet, on the flip side, many Orthodox organizations have not supported broad protections for abortion rights. The Rabbinical Council of America and Agudat Yisrael, Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox groups, have been explicit in supporting laws that restrict access, and yet they have both been explicit that laws banning abortions, even in late pregnancy when a mother's life is at risk, run afoul of Jewish teachings, right? So they still, even if they're more to one side than most of the Jewish community, they still find a different nuance that is in there. Interestingly enough, one of the things that we've seen is that the Reform movement and the conservative movement have been advocates for abortion rights going way back. 1958 in the Reform movement, there were already resolutions and a sense that we needed to extend access to women, and that has continued throughout. And the Reform movement files amicus briefs in cases at the Supreme Court and other kinds of things like that, as does the conservative movement. And various, of course, non-religious Jewish groups have also been very active in support of reproductive rights access, including the National Council of Jewish Women, Jewish Women International, Hadassah, various other groups as that plays out. Another interesting kind of side note is that people ask me sometimes what goes on in Israel. How does that happen? And in Israel, people do have access. The question really in Israel is, does the state pay? That's really in a socialized medicine system. In Israel, if you want the state to pay for it, you appear before a 3-person committee. The committee has to have at least one woman, at least one doctor, and then I don't remember who the third person has to be. But in practice, nearly all requests are granted. And there's no laws limiting when in the term of pregnancy that can take place. And of course, those who are denied can still go to a private clinic, but the state wouldn't pay for it, right, in that way. And estimates in Israel are about half are done in private clinics. Sometimes it's really just because people prefer private clinics, and sometimes it's because they don't want to have to appear before anybody. There's a little bit of a chilling effect, right? Even if they're almost always approved, right? People want to preserve their sense of privacy. I guess I'll kind of bring this together by just saying that that at this time, when we have new challenges facing reproductive rights in the United States. The reform movement is continuing to work on those things now on a state-by-state basis. Or, of course, right now, Roe is still the law until we have a final decision, but is working on a state-by-state basis in these various around the country. We face a situation in which if Roe's struck down pretty quickly, 26 states in the United States will have very severe restrictions to reproductive abortion access. And so those are some of the things that are facing us. And of course, while in California, we won't experience those same challenges, what we do know is, as it is with almost every policy that restricts rights in different kinds of ways, we're really talking about policies that affect people who are poor, right? People who don't have the means to travel, can't take off work, right? Can't do those other kinds of things. Because those who have means, no matter where they live, can find access to the care that they need. But those who don't have many more challenges in that way. And that will really become, in many ways, sharpening the divide, right, that already exists in this country between those who have resources and those who don't. And of course, based on where you live. And the challenge of having what rights we have being based on what state we live in and how that plays out. So there'll be much more to say, much more to advocate for, much more to engage in this way. There will be ways for those who are passionate about this issue to be engaged through the reform movement on these issues, through the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. We've had students through the years who have gone to DC who have lobbied on reproductive rights at their legislator's office when I take teens, although I haven't taken teens since 2020, February 2020, just before the pandemic. So we've missed a couple of years of doing that, but we'll continue to have opportunities to reflect and to talk and to move these, think about ways that we as a community can respond to the needs in our greater community and across this country. Shabbat Shalom. Turn to page 253. As we offer prayers for those in need of healing, of body, of mind, of spirit.
Yishabeirach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Uyevarech et hacholim
We ask for blessings upon Rebecca Gilman, Hannah Fields Austin, Sue Toback, Rosalyn Lefkowitz, Helen Weinfeld, Pam Poliakoff, Connie Shapiro, Kathy Blumenfeld, Caitlin Antrim, Kathy Brewster, Jennifer Rudin, Marion Snyders, Brad Holland, Beatrice Caden, Meg Selton, Serena Postal, Bobby Kay, Marilyn Freeman, Robert Strober, Marilyn Lubarsky, Ellery Einstein, Patricia Kramer, Joan Morse, Naomi Kravitz, Craig Sachs, Simon Saul, Blair Pollock, Myra White, Lori Snyder, Jeremy Noller, Charity Razaday, Mike Klein, Lily Morrison, Sarah Kojman, Richard Handley, Barbara Fass, Joel Beasy, Burton Gershman, Carol Berlant, Janet Barong, Paula Steinbach, David Bush, Howard Bush, Dana Sundin, Lawson Spicer, Mark Fenton, Toyasha Sabag, Gloria Foster, Rita Warshaw, Ira Quatcher, Robert Gerard, Sahaman, Brian Safer, and page 278. Page 278, as we count the Omer, I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al svirat ha'omer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom Shmona v'esrim yom shehem arba'a shavuot la'omer.
Today is the 28th day, which is 4 weeks in the Omer. I'd like to invite back up Toyasha to share some announcements with all of you.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I would, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you for being here, both in the sanctuary and online. Toda Rabbah to Rabbi Kupitz for leading our service in such an inspiring way, and to Cantor Bush for providing richness in voice and music, to Dr. Randy Poivoy for his lovely piano piece, and much appreciation to Claudia Gonzalez, who handles our technology so amazingly. Thank you to our fellow congregants who generously donated delicious items for tonight's Onay. I'd like to also thank our greeters for tonight, Debbie Harris and Kyle Sykes, and our lobby greeters, Sharon Regolo, Beth Linton, Harriet DeBazio, and Judy Rose. After this service, we will gather in the social hall, which is behind us, for Kiddush, motzi, refreshments, and conversation. Please take this opportunity to get to know someone new, which will help us continue to build our warm, personal Jewish community. Also, we have a busy and engaging community. Find what interests you in our weekly update emailed every Thursday, monthly Kahila, and our website and Facebook pages. In particular, I'd like to highlight the following events that are occurring this weekend. The first is the last one, which is our final days to bid on great TBI silent auction items. Our fabulous online silent auction, which features unique art items, beautiful one-of-a-kind clothing and jewelry items, photo packages, and so much more, closes this Sunday evening, May 15th, just prior to our live virtual auction, which begins at 7 p.m. The response has never been better, but great deals are still available. We have virtual live auction Sunday evening, May 15th. Be sure to register for the live virtual auction. You could register online at our website. When you go to the registration page, you will also be able to preview the virtual live auction items, including glamorous trips, vacation homes, gourmet dinners, event tickets, and more. Please note that some items are designated for groups and might be more valuable with some pre-planning of your group before you bid. Please note that links to the virtual live auction will be sent only to those who register. So be sure to register, please. And I look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow night back here, Saturday evening, May 14th, which is at 7 p.m. for wine, cheese, dessert, and live jazz under the stars on the TBI Great Lawn. You'll also be able to bid on silent auction items and preview the live auction items there while enjoying seeing your friends and making new ones. See y'all tomorrow night. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to Shavuot, which is the very first weekend in June. We have that Friday night. We have Rabbi Dr. Tali Zelkowitz, who's going to be here talking about this time that we're in and moving forward, keeping the cement wet, a toolkit for change in a time of uncertainty. We are in a time of constant change right now in our world, and what does that mean for each of us in our lives and for our Jewish community, and what are the tools that we need to navigate this time. And then on Shavuot, which is Saturday night, Erev Shavuot, she'll be leading us through a study around Shavuot and around kind of our own Torah, coming back to our own Torah again and again and again, that our own relationship, our own way to understand Jewish life is also something that constantly changes and grows. So I hope you'll join us for both of those programs. And as I said, Friday night is part of our Brenda Rosenfeld Scholars series, and we hope you'll join us for those as well. We will, there's a whole lot of other things, of course, that take place at TBI. Many of you know that there are house meetings and that are either in people's homes, online, at TBI. There are lots of different options. If you haven't registered for a house meeting, we've been trying to get you to. We've been sending stuff out a lot. Please register. We want your thoughts and ideas as we think about building the future of TBI and what's most important to you. So register for one of those house meetings. They've already are getting started, but there's still room to register. All right. We are going to turn now to page 282. 282, middle of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach, and I invite you to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. In a moment, we will turn to page 294 for Kaddish, for our prayer of memory. Before we do that, we have some memorial plaques this evening that have been added to our wall, to the far left-hand side over there, if you walk over there. And so we're going to be dedicating plaques this evening in memory of their lives, and in that way their loved ones connect this space, this synagogue, and its time to eternally to the names of those who are there on the wall. So we are dedicating 4 plaques this evening. The first plaque is Leo Sachs, father of Sharon Sachs Regalado, and it's being dedicated on his 45th yard site. So, so that plaque has been added to the wall, and both plaques that are being dedicated tonight are being dedicated from people who are so deeply a part of our Temple Beth Israel community. So Sharon, I know you have been such an important part of this community since you came here, and have helped support us and connect others to us, and serve in so many ways. And you've connected your life to this place in a deep way, and through you, you've connected now his life to this place as well. And the others are the siblings of Simon Saul, who many of us have gathered in different ways to mourn over the last couple of years as they've passed away. Charlie Saul, Simon's twin, who died in December of 2020, was father of Pamela, Charles, and Stephen. He was a grandfather and great-grandfather. Saul, Chaim Saul, who everybody called Solly, was Simon's big brother, who died in June 2021. Father of Lily, Lana, David, and Leonard. He was grandfather. Seema Saul Betts, Simon's big sister, who died in December of 2021. Mother of Josephine, Ramona, and Ben, grandmother and great-grandmother. Anybody who's been a member of TBI for, well, I don't know actually how long, because Simon was here already when I got here. So, and I've been here now close to finishing this will be my 19th High Holy Days as I come up. So, but anybody who's been here knows that Simon Saul has been a pillar and an anchor of this community, and again has been somebody who has served this community in so many deep and special ways, and has linked his life, and Yvonne, you too have linked your life since you've been here to this community, and so dedicating plaques to each of his siblings is a way to continue to connect this community and this place to the Saul family, and may their memories. May all of their memories be for a blessing. We also remember recent deaths on the Shabbat. We remember Ava Besbris, Ava's husband and daughter, Robert and Devorah, are here. Ava, who died this week, and we remember Ava's mother, who died just a few weeks ago, Esther Besbris. We remember Lionel Ketchum. We remember David Grossman. The Grossmans are here, and our hearts are with you, Adrian and Van and Joey and Sam and Harry and Mark. I'm just going down the row. That's the order. It wasn't in age order or anything. Just we're all our hearts are with all of you in your time of loss and grief. And we remember Stephen Gerard, brother of Neil Gerard. Remember the Yortzites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Margalit Ben-Zakane, Irv Bernstein, Victor Dolfman, Soretta Edelson, Sarah Elhai, Alec Levine, Greg Rebensdorf, Isaac Schwartz, Francis Brennan, Vetta Ginsburg, Gertrude Keeney, George Moeller, Roy Premack, Bessie Rosenblum, Rosa Schwartz, Ronald Zwelling, Wilma Barger, Claire Blitz, Marvin Botwin, Leon Fink, Rosalie Fox, Benjamin Zalman Ginsburg, Louis Greenberg, Ruth Kelber, Pauline Levine, Leslie Ruby, Lily Schachter, Norman Schall, Scott Serkin, Melvin Aberman, Marvin Cohen, Ernie Goodman, Ronald Gray, Sylvan Coulter, Blanche Marcus, Robin Pavlovsky, Shirley Walensky, Harriet Kalig, Ann Kaloff, Alicia Goldfarb, Benjamin Meckler, Leah Slomka, Dr. Jack Herbert Block, Sadie Bosworth, Charles Frankelson, Herman Gazansky, Ben Isaacson, Philip Keller, Ina Elaine, Marcus Epstein, Bertha Namus, Iris Revo, Leo Sachs, Robert Handit, Benjamin Weinstock, Garrett H.A. DeLange, Sheldon Fosco, Eleanor Grauman, Ronald Lasky, Sylvia Munier Boutel, Eleanor Sabsovitz, and Molly Zoller. If you're remembering somebody on the Shabbat would like to add their names to those that I've listed or restate a name I've listed, please feel free to do so as I come by your row. If you're at home and you haven't already done so and you're remembering somebody, please feel free to share a name in the chat. If you're in a time of mourning or observing a Yortzeit on the Shabbat, I invite you to please rise. And I invite the rest of the congregation, if it's your custom, to rise and embrace in support of those who mourn. Kaddish is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, b'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agalah u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mivorach Le'olam Olomei Amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei Dukudusha Brichu Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata ta'amiram bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shmaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'imromav Huya se shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories always be for a blessing. And we'll conclude on page 321.
Beyado afkiruchi, be'elishan ve'aira, ve'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira, ve'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira.
My soul I give to you.
My soul I give to you.
My spirit in your care.
My spirit in your care.
Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Hold me in your hand.
Hold me in your hand.
Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Safely in your hand.
Safely in your hand.
My soul I give to you.
Be'ado.
My soul I give to you. My spirit in your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Adonai li ve'lo ira.
Draw me near, I shall not fear. Safely in your hand.
My soul I give to you. Soul I
Be'ado
give to you.
afkiruchi.
My spirit in
Ve'ishan
your
ve'ayina.
hand.
Ve'imruchi
I shall not
geviati.
fear.
Adonai
in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Safely in your hand.
Please join us in the social hall for Kiddush, Motzi, refreshments, Shabbat Shalom. For those of you online, see you soon, maybe tomorrow night. Come join us here at TBI at 7 o'clock for our event, Havdalah. Take care, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.